So, Dawn, yes, you joined me in the middle of a protest outside of the Labour Party conference. Here, particularly farmers, aggrieved at Labour Party policies to raise their taxes on family farms. I'm delighted actually to be joined by a guy called Spencer Campbell. He's been in farming since he was 13 years old. Spencer, what does it mean to you to sort of see all this support for particularly the farmers today?
It's incredible. You know, all I want to do is farm. And to see farmers coming together from across the country and even across the nation here today to speak to farmers and to show their support, it's amazing. You know, to be part of to be a small cog, a part of farming is incredible. So, these are my people.
Now let's just have a look at what's over here. If we turn around, we can see a coffin being carried through, representing the death of British farming. We've got farmers marching, but we've also got bikers driving through with flags on the back of their motorcycles, and we can hear the revving of those motorcycles amidst the crowds here. Crowds of people protesting for farmers, protesting also against digital ID. I can see banners saying abolish inheritance tax for all. A particularly difficult moment for Keir Starmer, who of course was accused of perhaps setting up a trust to be more tax efficient with his own inheritance. But this is a very loud and vibrant protest, it must be said. Spencer, how many of these protests have you been to now?
All of them, every single one of them, because it's so important. I want to farm, I want a future in farming, and at this rate there's not going to be one. You know, I just want to feed the nation. You need a farmer 3 times a day, every day, and I want to be part of that. And it's so important. You know, I can't understand the hatred that Labour have against farmers. You can't make it up. They've stopped everything they can. You know, they're taxing us to the point we're not even breaking even. We just want to make a small profit, because if we make a profit, we buy more, we invest in local businesses, we buy new tractors, we buy fresh machinery, we pay more tax that way. So the more money that we get, the more money we spend. So help us spend money in the local economy. Myself, I'm a self-employed farm worker. I have had so little work this year because farmers are not spending. We're not cutting hedges. We're taking a back step on farming to make sure that we're saving money where we can. So farmers are working more hours than they normally would to make sure they can earn a living. And
we're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just live in credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
Cost of the year.
Well, Spencer, thanks so much for talking to us, and all the best with your farm work as well. Let's see if we can weed our way through here, because it looks like we've got an enormous tractor coming up, which is all very exciting. And of course, this is a protest primarily to do with those farmers who feel like they have just been ridden roughshod over by the government's policies on increasing the level of tax that family farms have to pay in order to pass their farms over to their children. And up here we've got a very loud and impressive display, it must be said, in the middle of the road, just outside the Labour Party conference. This tractor has a sign on the front of it. It says, "Coming soon, rising prices of food and drink." The farmers here want to get across the message that without farmers, there isn't food, that farmers feed us 3 times a day, and that their work is so vital to the health of the country. So here we have an enormous JCB tractor, and my goodness me, more to as well. I can't quite express the level of noise and atmosphere here, Dawn. I can barely hear myself talk, but this is surely a massive display of the frustration that these farmers have, of frankly their concern for their way of life. So we're seeing a sort of big protest here, and it must be said there is such a strong strength of feeling from those who have turned out to protest, particularly for the farmers who of course feel like they've had such a tough time of it ever since that budget last October.
Tom, can I just ask one question? If you could ask a farmer maybe next time round, OK, there's a link between this. The digital ID cards are expected to cost around £5 billion. I mean, we seem to have money to spend on that, and yet we are ruining farmers' lives. Many farmers have taken their own lives through worry about this. How are they feeling about that situation?
Yeah, that is such an important point, actually, that clearly the government is spending so much money on so many different areas of the economy, whether that's, as you say, £5 billion on digital ID, or some of the public sector pay awards. I mean, why is there being billions of pounds being spent there when, of course, more money, more taxes are being raised on farmers and on businesses too? I suppose that is one of the big areas of concern at a protest like this. What the Chancellor, of course, would say is that she needs to raise money, she needs to raise tax, that there is a black hole, as we all know, in the public finances, and that the Chancellor has been having a fairly tough time trying to fill it. So on the government's side of things, what they would say is that they've got to make hard choices. But what people at this protest here would say is the choices that they're making are the wrong ones. Oh yes, I should think so. We're here outside the Labour Party conference where protesters have gathered. We're going to be going over to a slightly larger protest a little bit later in the afternoon. But I just wanted to give you a sense of the people who've come out outside the Labour Party conference. We can see some British flags, some people representing the farmers. There are also people protesting digital ID. Some more farmer protesters over here. A coffin representing the death of British agriculture in that October budget last year. But why don't we go over and speak very briefly to a man who's been helping to put all of this together. Alan Miller is of the Together Declaration. And Alan, why have you brought together all of these people to protest this party in government?
Well, Farmers to Action have been doing a trailer of truth for the last month from Scotland, England and Wales. They've stopped all around the country at live shows and fairs. They're at Diddley Squat Farm. Big shout to Jeremy Clarkson and all our friends. And they're all converging today where there's a big rally to say abolish IHT for everyone and listen to farmers. And the Together Declaration have been supporting Farmers to Action. We've helped found them all together. And we've got a big campaign as well against digital ID. And we're seeing that the Prime Minister is uniting the whole country with very different views against digital ID. We're saying no to digital ID. We're saying abolish IHT. So farmers have got signatures from around the UK. The public support our farmers. They're interested in food security, family farmers, and they know that we don't want to be in a position where we're not going to be able to feed ourselves, and they're very concerned about these policies and the existential crisis to farmers. But as well, Tom, the concern around free speech, privacy, rights for digital ID, and we're all saying everyone have your voices heard. We know GB viewers are very concerned about privacy and democracy and freedom. We've seen two-tier treatment. Everyone's very concerned about it, debanking. So we're saying togetherdeclaration.org, have your voices heard, write to your MP. We can see this off. We know over 2 million people have signed this petition already. The British public don't do things like that. Winston Churchill in 1952 said, we're not going to have national ID, it's going to keep us free. That's what we all want to see here. So we say abolish IHT for everyone. Farmers to Action have united farmers around the country, and the public are behind our farmers, and we're all standing together.
Well, Alan, thanks so much for speaking to us. I know we're going to be speaking to some of those farmers a little bit later on in the afternoon. So much going on here in Liverpool, both inside and, frankly, outside the conference too.